Kate Mulafalcha. Welcome to Irish Granny Helen. Welcome back, everybody. I've been forgetting to say that lately. I've been so obsessed with getting things recorded and researched. Welcome to all my new subscribers, returning subscribers, random looky-loos. If you're not subscribed, why aren't you? If you are subscribed, double check, spread the word. I'm not getting a whole lot of love from the algorithm these days, so I appreciate any help I can get as far as just spreading the word. In the meantime, the book that I've been covering, I'm not sure, probably a weekend, at least one weekend, maybe we've done 2 weekends by the time I upload this, is The Mothman Prophecies by John Keel, a very unusual book. For its time, it was almost a paradigm shifting book because he was discussing the possibility of all sorts of weird entities, including, as they called them, flying saucers. However, he took the side of the argument that Jacques Vallée was speculating about, that later on Dr. Diana Pasulka would posit, that perhaps most of these entities or appearances or phenomena are actually part of the Earth, that they're not from some other planet, physical planet, but some interdimensional terrestrial manifestation. Interesting to think about, but he ties this whole thing. The book is sort of tied together. This is the book, and it's tied together with a huge flurry of UFO sightings, orbs, lights, weird Men in Black. He invented the title Men in Black, and Mothman in this little area of West Virginia. Now, if you want to know all the details, there are some really astounding stories in this book. But I would recommend you at least watch my video on Saturday synopsizing the book. But read the book. It's an interesting book. In the meantime, I thought I would do a separate little video about the tragedy upon which this is centered. There was this disaster, and before the disaster, all these weird phenomena and manifestations just became unbelievably frequent and really frightening for the people of this area. And they considered, in retrospect, many of them felt the fear and felt ominous, but in retrospect, a lot more of them thought, oh, these were omens. These were warnings that we didn't recognize and didn't listen to. And if you want to know the details about that, listen to my book synopsis, read the book. But let's talk about the tragedy itself, the bridge disaster, because we keep making reference to it and not explaining what happened. However, it was the deadliest bridge disaster in the United States history. So we all should know about it. It happened on December 15th of 1967. Really unfortunate timing. There was quite a bit more traffic across this bridge because of Christmas shopping. That didn't lend to the disaster, it just was unfortunate coincidence. So this was a little bridge, well, not that little, a suspension bridge that connected Point Pleasant, West Virginia with, well, I got 2 different bits of information, so I'll put them both out there, either Canaga, Ohio, or Gallipoli, Ohio. And this bridge collapsed. And it happened in 20 seconds. There was no time to react. 46 people died. Some believe, as I said, that there were signs, paranormal warnings. So let's talk a little bit about what was wrong with the bridge. This was not like a wooden bridge or a picturesque covered bridge. This was a substantial bridge. It was a suspension bridge, and it had something called I-bar construction. Now, I'll explain a little bit about what they think that happened without getting way into it because I'm not into that sort of thing, but I did want to provide at least some explanation. So this I-bar construction was a technique that had been in use for about 100 years. These kind of bridges are, thankfully, usually constructed with redundant bar links. In other words, instead of using one or two, they use 4 to 6 rows of bars and several parallel chains. So if one fails, another will pick up the slack, literally. But the Silver Bridge didn't do that. It reduced the number of I-bars because it was using a new kind of steel, and the steel was considered, I don't know, like 6 times better than regular steel. So they felt that they were okay. They used 2 I-bars in parallel made of this new higher strength steel. However, what they didn't really calculate into this was if one bar failed, it would immediately put a huge load on the existing bar. And they were counting on the actual steel to be able to hold things together, but apparently they didn't think it through. The way it was constructed, it would make the failure of a suspension chain inevitable, and the bridge would collapse. That was much more likely that the bridge would collapse. So they did investigations after this accident, and they said the addition of 3 or more I-bars per link probably would have avoided the disaster. So the old way of having backup support was the smarter thing to do. The Brooklyn Bridge is this kind of a bridge, a similar construction. It uses thousands of wire cables that provide a high level of redundancy. So if you're in New York right now, it's okay. Upon investigation, it was noted that the rocker towers, these are the towers on the bridge, that hold everything up, they had fallen. And that for them was sort of a diagnostic sign that the chain had broken because the towers were held upright by the chain support. And if the chain went, the tower went. And they could tell the direction the towers fell. Both towers fell in the same direction so that they knew that they fell east, therefore the west side chain had broken. The bridge had been designed in 1926 and 1927, and it conformed to the engineering standards of the time. It wasn't shoddy work. The bridge was not overloaded. There weren't too many people driving across it. The location of the failure, actually, they were able to calculate that where the failure happened, the bridge was holding less than its maximum capacity. That wasn't the problem. They found that the failure was due to a defect in one link on the Ohio side, the north side of the Ohio side. It was a teeny small crack from wear and stress and corrosion, but it was only 0.1 inch deep. It's really astounding that that's all it took. And the link, just from that little tiny crack, suddenly fractured, and when it gave, the I-bar gave, the chain gave, and it was a domino effect. So this transferred the load to the other side of the I-bar, and it experienced what's called ductile overload. And that was a cascade, a domino effect of failures, because all the parts of a suspension bridge are in equilibrium with one another. If one goes, that's all she wrote. The crack was so small, it would not have been found in inspection, and they had regular inspections. This was not a failure of engineering given what they thought they were working with. They thought this new steel was the solution. So it wasn't negligence in that regard. And it wasn't negligence in maintenance. And it wasn't negligence in inspection, because they said that this would not have been found in an inspection because the technology that was available to them at the time wasn't capable of detecting such a tiny crack. So this tragedy led to some positive things. It led to the overhaul of the inspection protocols for all suspension bridges globally. So there were bridge replacements at St. Mary's Bridge in West Virginia, but also at Florianopolis, Brazil. So this was something that all civil engineers paid attention to. Today, there are older bridges that remain, but there are stricter weight restrictions on them now, just in case. So after this tragedy, new legislation was written to ensure the regular inspection and maintenance. Although there was not a failure of inspection and maintenance, it was sort of a red alert and a reality check. In general, the United States suffers from a lot of aging infrastructure. So I'm reassuring you that your local suspension bridge is probably fine, but I think we all need to be aware that a lot of the things around us that we use without thinking are starting to get old and tired. In 1983, for example, the Mianus River Bridge in Greenwich, Connecticut collapsed and 3 people died. In September of 2009, there was the failure of an eye-bar on the San Francisco Oakland Bay Bridge. Now, it just so happened that the bridge was closed for inspection, and they discovered this, and they did an emergency repair and reinforcement. So fortunately, they caught this before a tragedy could happen. There is a scale model of the original Silver Bridge at the Point Pleasant Museum. Also there, they have an archive of literature about that bridge, about the disaster, and about the engineering of that particular kind of suspension bridge. This bridge exhibit's big deal, if you can imagine. This is a town of about, I think, 3,000 people, at least at the time. It was saved in 2018. There was an attic fire in the museum building. They managed to save the whole entire bridge exhibit, and it's now once again returned to pride of place at the new museum building, which was opened in 2024. And it's been made a National Historical Civil Engineering Landmark, so it will be protected. The collapse of the Silver Bridge led to the first National Bridge Inspection Program under the 1968 Federal Aid Highway Act. So that's not to say inspections weren't done. They were. In this case of this bridge, at least, they were regular, thorough inspections. That wasn't the problem. They just did not have the ability to catch the problem that led to the collapse. But this law made it mandatory federally, so nationwide. Nobody was going to get away with not inspecting it because, we're a small town. We don't have any county money. Federal government wanted to ensure the safety of travelers. So it's been described as cautionary tale for engineers of every kind. If ever a design was to blame for a failure, this was it. The bridge is immortalized in song, in a comic that's still ongoing, in novels. There's a video game about it. The old bridge was replaced by the Silver Memorial Bridge. It is connecting Henderson, West Virginia, with Gallipoli, Ohio. Now, I mentioned that I wasn't sure which town in Ohio the original bridge went to. I found conflicting information. Not that that probably matters in the long run. Prior to collapse, the witnesses reported, okay, here, this is where it gets good. Prior to collapse, the witnesses reported seeing 7-foot tall, winged human figure. The wings had a 10-foot span with red glowing eyes that was called the Mothman. They took it as an omen, and beginning in the fall of 66, it appeared, and it made numerous bizarre encounters all around the area, all around, even in Gallipoli too. There is a consensus that it has been documented, like legal notarized affidavits that people have written. Important people, the sheriff, the most important reporter on the newspaper, that there were individuals who experienced dread and strange phenomena prior, and who reported sudden development of or increase in psychic phenomena, psychic ability, poltergeist activity, other weird phenomena after the fact. And I go into great detail in my coverage of the Mothman prophecies that I'm synopsizing. So if you want to get a little taste of what they experienced, it is pretty astounding. You would be inclined to think, oh, come on, legends come to life, until you realize that many of the people involved in this were prominent in the area and had a lot to lose. Jobs, reputation, clearances if they were in the police or the military, and those people saw this stuff too. Pretty dramatic. Always interesting. So that's all I have on the unfortunate event, the disaster of the Silver Bridge. I wanted to tell you more about the victims. 46 is a lot. Two bodies were never recovered. I didn't really find details. Now, I'm not completely finished reading the Mothman prophecies and the disasters towards the end of the book, so it may talk more about the victims. I also found a big long list of all their names and no ages, which makes it a little hard, to even visualize who these people were. So that's all I can do for today. When I find out more, I'll be back. Do check out the Mothman prophecies. And if you want to hear about real life horror phenomenon that went on and is still going on in the Catholic Church in both the United States and globally, check out my coverage of Opus by Gareth Gore. It's an eye-opener. Thanks for watching. Please come back. Please get everybody to come back. Slán go fóill. Sláinte.